Welcome to the Midnight Storylines official.
The bedroom door was slightly open, and from inside I could hear laughter soft, intimate laughter that once used to belong to me. For a brief second, my heart warmed. I thought maybe he was in a good mood tonight. Maybe tonight he would look at me the way he used to in the early days of our marriage, when his eyes held affection instead of distance. I pushed the door gently, and in that single moment, my entire world shattered. She was lying on my side of the bed, wrapped in my husband's arms, as if she had always belonged there. His hands were holding her, with a familiarity that felt like betrayal carved into my chest. He wasn't just kissing her. He was loving her openly, shamelessly, as though I did not exist. The files and my purse slipped from my trembling hands and fell to the floor with a dull sound that echoed louder than their laughter. They both turned toward me. She quickly tried to cover herself with the blanket, but he didn't look embarrassed. He didn't look guilty. If anything, he looked irritated, as if I had interrupted something important. "Why are you home early?" he asked coldly. I stared at him, unable to understand how the man I had built my life around could look at me like a stranger in my own bedroom. "Why?" My voice trembled before it broke. "What did I lack? I managed the house. I worked alongside you. I stood beside you when your business was failing. I stayed awake when you were sick. I loved you with everything I had. Tell me what was missing." He didn't hesitate. "I love Lisa," he said, stepping slightly closer to her instead of me. "I don't love you anymore." Simplicity of his confession hurt more than the betrayal itself. It meant he had already moved on long before I opened that door. "What about our marriage?" I whispered, my voice barely holding together. "The vows, the promises, the nights you held my face and said I was your forever." He sighed, as if tired of explaining something obvious. "That was before," he replied. "This is now."
If you are still here to listen to the story, so please subscribe my channel.
Then he took her hand gently, protectively, and walked past me. The same hands that once promised to protect me were now leading another woman out of my home, and I stood there alone. The silence that followed in the next few days was heavier than any scream could have been. I moved through the house like a shadow of myself, touching the walls that had witnessed our laughter, remembering the dreams I had stitched carefully into every corner. But something unexpected happened inside me. Instead of collapsing, I began to awaken. I realized that while I had been busy being a perfect wife, I had slowly erased myself. My ambitions had been paused, my studies unfinished, my own identity buried under the title of his wife. And the woman in the mirror no longer looked broken, she looked unfinished. So I decided to complete myself. I filed for divorce quietly. He didn't argue. In fact, he seemed relieved, already busy building a public display of his new romance. Pictures of them smiling at restaurants,
Comment below which type of story lover you are, romantic or thrilling.
vacations, captions about true love. I stopped looking. Instead, I enrolled back in the program I had once left behind. I worked harder than I ever had before. I rebuilt my confidence piece by piece, not to prove anything to him, but to prove something to myself. Healing was not instant. There were nights I cried silently, not because I wanted him back, but because I was mourning the version of myself who had loved without limits. But gradually, that woman transformed. 2 years later, I walked into a corporate conference room wearing a tailored navy suit and a calm strength that no one could shake. And there he was, standing alone. Lisa was no longer beside him. Life, it seemed, had its own lessons to teach. When our eyes met, I saw something I had once begged for regret. "I made a mistake," he said quietly, his voice softer than I remembered. I looked at him not with anger, not with pain, but with clarity. "No," I replied gently. "You made a choice." He lowered his gaze, as if finally understanding.
The weight of that difference. I lost you, he murmured. I adjusted the strap of my bag and gave him a small, peaceful smile. You didn't lose me, I said. You released me. And as I walked away, I realized something powerful. The night I thought my life had ended was actually the night I began living for myself. For more wonderful, traumatic, thrilling, and dramatic stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel, Midnight Storylines Official. Thank you.